I think one thing that hurt him maybe a little bit was the comments after the race. But he's a high-strung, very competitive, hard racer. He's just a old school racer. And sometimes you say something no different than me. A few minutes later, why did I say that? And I'm sure he's asked himself.
It is time to go lights out with the boss at Richard Childress Racing. That, of course, the one and only Richard Childress. Richard, it's so great to see you, and we appreciate your time. The guys around Welcome tell us that you're still the first guy in there in the morning and the last guy to go in the afternoon. With all you've achieved, Richard, what still motivates you? What keeps you going day after day?
I think just the love for the sport, all the employees, fans, and I want to win that next championship for the company. I want to be involved in it when they win it.
So, Richard, I've seen a couple of documentaries recently, and it kind of caught my eye that when you were starting out as a driver, you guys were against the 8-ball. You were buying used tires. You were struggling to get by. What were those days like?
If you told people that in today's world, they wouldn't believe it. So most of the modern day race fans thinks I'm just some real rich guy that come along that owns race teams. But no, it was a struggle, back in the day. But I was fortunate. I was blessed. I had good people around me, had some people that helped me out, and I was just really blessed by it.
What was growing up like for you, Richard? Where'd you grow up, and what's things like when you were growing up?
It was tough. We had my dad died when I was 6 years old. And I always said I become a man at that time. I had my fight my way through life. Hadn't stopped yet, but it was tough. Coming up as a kid, and we were fortunate to. As a family, we loved each other. We got everything we wanted, we needed as far as food. Hell, I had to work in the cafeterias to pay for my lunch sometime. But that's just part of life, and I learned a lot. Those are life lessons that I carried on into life.
And that's what makes a lot of us who we are these days, right? Not necessarily the good times, but the bad times, the struggles.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them bad times. I'd call them struggles and challenges in life. I've been fortunate to have a good family to help me through it, and even today with our family, we're a family operation, RCR is, and we all work hard to try to keep this thing rolling and winning those races and going after that next championship.
It never gets easy, does it, running a race team?
No, never. I will forget. Bill France Jr. told me one day, he said, "Pal, it just isn't going to get any easier." And this was back in the early 80s. And boy, did I ever realize, I didn't realize then what he meant.
So, Richard, you've seen a lot of different things as an owner from the days back with Dale was racing for you, and the way just the whole business model, the whole thing has changed. Just how much has it changed over the years?
It's totally changed. That's one of the big questions I get. What's the biggest changes you see in NASCAR today? Safety is one thing. Safety's gotten much better. After we lost Dale, you look at every bad thing, you got to see anything good that come out of it. And the cars are safer, tracks are safer. The technology that's in our sport today is just unbelievable. These cars are racing today are all engineer driven. And I knew that going into the season. And it's when we built it, we built the very first one. We worked with DeLara and the NASCAR about building it. And Austin tested the first one at Richmond. And, when all that was going on, I could see it was all engineer driven. And we've got behind a little at RCR on our engineering, but we're on the right path to turn it around and get it going in the right direction.
It's pretty easy to fall just a little bit behind these days, isn't it? Because when you look at the finishing orders or the qualifying times, sometimes, Richard, we're talking about thousandths of a second or hundredths of a seconds. That's the difference between real successful and not so successful at NASCAR's top series.
It is, and it's this car especially is like sitting on a razor blade. You can not last week, but the week before, Kyle, they on his right front, they took 0.2 of a pound of air out at Dover and put 3/8 of it around a wedge in the back, and he got so loose he couldn't drive it. I mean, I'm sitting there scratching my head. Give me 3 rounds of wedge or 2 pounds of air. In today's world, it's thousands.
Yeah, it is amazing how tight it is and how close it is. You know, Richard, when you hired Kyle Busch, I think a lot of people said a lot of things. You probably heard a lot of it that we heard. But I don't think people really know the real Kyle Busch. You see a certain competitor on TV, but man, I think there's so much more to the Kyle Busch that's behind the scenes, and you probably know better than anybody.
Yeah, I really, really learned a lot about Kyle over the last 3 years. We've been very blessed to have him up here at RCR. He's sort of our, he's got so many championships, won over 200 races. To have a driver like that to come in and say, here's what you need, what we need to do. It's great having him up here, and his personality, a lot of people didn't think it'd work with he and I. But it's just been, a great experience working with Kyle Busch.
And you recently extended the contract with him. I think you guys probably must feel like you're going in the right direction. I know it's got to be very frustrating when you guys are used to winning, when Kyle's used to winning, and you've had so much success. It's got to be a little bit frustrating trying to get back to where you both want to be.
It is. It is frustrating, and we're working together. At Indy, the cars were really good. We were 6th and 9th at the end of the first stage, and both of them ended up in that wreck, knocking the front ends off of them. Kyle had 2 good finishes going in prior to that, and it was unfortunate that I guess the 21 missed a gear or something, didn't miss 7 or 8 cars up there. I think we'd have had a good shot to run good if we hadn't had that challenge, but that one's behind us. Now we're going to Iowa and going up there to win that race.
So, Richard, when you guys look at what you have as a team when you're going to one of these races, are you guys identically preparing these cars, or are the cars pretty varied?
They will vary just a little. The biggest thing is we try to get it to where the driver wants it, and each one of them will run the simulation, and they'll determine kind of what they think is the best for their driving style. It's not a lot of difference. You're talking, maybe thousands difference in it, or, 25-pound different in a spring or something. And then occasionally they'll go, where's 1,000 pounds different in a spring? But I don't see that as much as I see them. All of them are pretty close, really.
So, Richard, from a business owner's standpoint, I know you guys are in this business. You're not in it for a hobby. It's a way for a lot of people to make a living. But how is the business model in NASCAR's Cup Series right now? I know NASCAR wanted to improve it. If it's not a good model, people aren't going to do it. How are we right now in terms of making this business model what owners need and what owners want?
I think the business model has got a long ways to go before it'll work good for the car owners. This car came out being much, much more expensive than any of us thought it would be. Some of the traveling we're having to go now, Mexico, San Diego next year, all these things add up to extra dollars. I think that there's got to be a little more work done on the business model before it becomes a really, really solid business model.
Because you guys, Richard, you have those cars stickered up week in and week out. It seems like you guys have very solid sponsorship, and I know that's something you work really hard on. But is it enough sometimes, even when you sell those great sponsorships, to make it a profitable venture?
Not really. These are great sponsors, and we've been fortunate to have the kind of partners that we have. They're great, and they pay the bills, but the expenses has went this way, and the revenue has went kind of like that. So it's not our partners' fault. It's just the cost of racing today has escalated so much over the last several years. It's unbelievable.
So, Richard, going back to the Xfinity Series race last weekend, when a lot of people look back at the video and things with what went on between Eric Almirola and Austin Hill, once you guys have had a chance to look back at that, I know what your opinion was right away on that, but that was something that when you look back at, I think you can see both sides of that story.
Yes, I think there was a lot more that once NASCAR, I hope they take a deep dive into it like we have. If you look where the 00 was, he actually caught the 21 car and hooked him. So it was all so close and happened so fast. I went up to Austin after the race and asked him, I said, Austin, don't lie to me. Tell me, did you do it on purpose? And he would tell me if he did. I know him that good. He said, no, I was fighting to hang onto the car and it went left on me. And I think when it went left on him, that's when the 00 got into his left rear quarter panel. And you look at his hands and everything, he's made a heck of a save. It's coming down. He's still fighting it. He was still fighting the car to save it. I think one thing that hurt him maybe a little bit was the comments after the race. But he's a high-strung, very competitive, hard racer. He's just a old school racer. And sometimes you say something no different than me. A few minutes later, why did I say that? And I'm sure he's asked himself. But we got great partners with Bennett's, and we've been talking to them. And I just hope the fans understand that you got to look at the whole picture. Look at the SMT where the 00 was, and kind of he was in his left rear quarter. That's what I looked at when I looked at it. And when I asked him if he told me the truth, and he's told me before when he got in a little trouble at Darlington, he said, hey, I've done that. I'm sorry. Emotions right then. But Saturday, he did not do it on purpose. Now, NASCAR will make the call, and whatever it is, it is. And the social media is great, but it does have its ups and downs. Everybody looks at things and posts what they want to. The guys setting up in the booth, they got seconds sometime before they start rattling off what they thought they seen or what they seen. And that sticks to the crowds, and that sticks to TV, and that sticks to social media. It carries on through.
And Richard, that's what you guys need, isn't it? I've heard so many owners and crew chiefs talking about you'd rather grab that rope and pull it back on a driver than try to push it. I mean, going back to the late great Dale Earnhardt, I don't think if you're fired up, if you're not fired up, and I don't think if you're not excitable, I'm not too sure you're going to be a very successful driver.
You better have a passion. That's the reason I'm still in it. I got a great passion for the sport, got a passion to win, got a passion to give every partner we have their money's worth. At the end of the year, I like to, we send out a thing to all of our sponsors and partners at the end of the year and make sure they know that they got their, ROI back on it.
Yep, and that's got to be a touchy thing right now, Richard, I would think. Is it helping you at all that we have more butts in seats these days? The TV ratings are peaking up. There's a little bit of excitement with new TV partners. Is that helping you at all right now when you go after these sponsors?
Yes, and the sponsors realize it too. They know it, and it's a positive for the sport. The sport is definitely on a high right now, and I think it's great. We're all excited about where the sport's going, the potential. I think this challenge was great. I think the playoffs have been great. I think before the end of the year, you're going to see some great moments in the sport.
So, Richard, do you think we really crown a true champion these days? This is my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, right? This is my opinion that the way things are set up right now, you reward winning, you reward consistency, and I think you get a truer champion because you have to be the best of the best on one particular day. I know there's a lot of people that will argue on the other side of that, and I'm not a competitor, so it's easy for me to say. But as a competitor, is this the right way to crown a champion, in your opinion?
I like it better than it was before. I know we finished second, third several times. And what would happen, one guy would get out front and he'd build so many points, it was no excitement for the crowd or the fans. And I think that's the reason you see a lot of sports, from golf to so many different sports, going to playoffs. And I think they see the success of NASCAR's playoffs, and that's the reason you're seeing it. I just think is it fair to the competitor? Yeah, if you're winning every race, you're running up front. Yeah, you want to. But if you want to put on a show for the race fans that we all work for, that we're out there working to put on a show for, I think the playoffs is the best thing we have going for our fans today.
Man, I got to agree with you, Richard, and I hope people don't change it. But, I know when there's a lot of clamoring, you never know what's going to happen. Richard, we had Austin on our Trackside Live show not too long ago, and we asked him, we said, we don't want to take you out of the car anytime soon. Hope you drive for a long time and continue to have success. But Austin is a smart young man. He obviously knows this business of racing. Is there any type of plan, or have you guys broached the subject at all about what he does after he leaves the seat and how he might continue to contribute to the company?
Well, he and Ty both are getting more and more involved with the company. Austin runs the Carolina Cowboys, our PBR team, which will be playing in Greensboro the September the 11th and 12th or something, if you look on the schedule. But he understands now what it is to deal with agents, driver agents, which now he's dealing with rider agents, which he told me, he said, after the first year, he said, Pop, I know why you dislike these agents. He's after having to deal with all these rider agents. And it's just a deal that we're setting him up for down the road. Hell, I ain't going to be here forever. I wished I was, but I'd be racing that long. But at some point, good Lord's going to call me up to the big racetrack, and I'm want them these guys to keep going. We don't know where RCR is going to be in years, but I'm not getting any younger for sure. I wished I could say I was.
Yeah, and also, Richard, by the same token, though, this thing in terms of all the different things that go on, I just kind of remember people going to racetracks and just going there to race. But when you look at running the business, keeping it afloat, hiring people, hiring drivers, there's so much that seems to go into the day-to-day operation.
Yeah, it's the same deal with a PBR. You got to deal with sponsors. We got sponsors there. You got to deal with a sanctioning body. There's so much about the PBR and so much about NASCAR it's alike, and that's the reason he's doing a fantastic job running it. And I hope he will. Let me turn this off. He will. Hopefully, he will. When it comes time, he and Ty's involved at the winery some. So hopefully, they'll be able to carry this everything we built here on.
So, Richard, that's got to be a dream for I'm a fellow wino too. That's got to be quite a dream for you to be able to establish that vineyard and have that near the property like that for you to enjoy. We've been up there a couple times. Took my mom up there on her birthday. That's got to be a big dream of yours, isn't it? And pretty satisfying to look at that vineyard.
Yeah, it just keeps growing. And like I say, my daughter runs it. Tina Dillon runs it. We're in the military business and all other businesses, and Mike Dillon runs those. And like I say, we're a family operation. Austin's running the Carolina Cowboys, and Ty's involved with the winery some. So we got a whole family, and my wife looks after the real estate that we have. So we got a good operation here with our family. But it's rewarding to pull in down there. And I'll say, I don't know how I can say on here, I'll say, how in the hell did this happen? You turn in at RCR and you see all these buildings and things. And I'll just say, how did this happen? Or you pull in at the winery or properties or something and you say, how in the hell did this happen? That's just the way it is.
So, Richard, going back a little bit, remember at Charlotte last year, you were with then candidate Trump. How cool was that to have the president of the former and eventual president of the United States on the pit box with you for the Coke 600? That was really something cool to see. We were standing near the pit box, but it looked like that was a pretty cool situation.
It really was. And I knew President Trump way before he was President Trump in the 90s. He was an Earnhardt fan. And he'd come down to Daytona each year in the 93, 94, right in that area, 95. And we'd hang out together, and he'd sit on the box up there with me. And then he'd go up into France's suite after the first caution or something. But he is a real deal. I'm so honored. One of the biggest honors of my life, his assistant, Nicole, called Sandra and said, President Trump wants to know if Richard's coming then to be President Trump, coming to Charlotte to a rally. She said, I'll find out. I said, yeah, tell him I'll come. He wanted me to speak. She calls the next day and says, President Trump, to be President Trump, said, how about having Richard? Would he be interested in introducing me? And I've done some pretty cool things in my life, but to introduce the past president and the present president to be was one of the biggest honors I've had in I think in my life, other than my family being born.
Yeah, we can only imagine, Richard. But also, you mentioned about your company, your family, and how much you guys give back to the military families. I think that's fantastic that you guys do that. How important is that to you guys to make sure you honor the military?
It is, and I think that we're all blessed to have a free country. And the reason we have a free country is so many sacrifices from so many people, our veterans, men and women. And you do everything you can for them. We have a veterans coffee every second Wednesday of each month. And we'll have, from 500, 600 veterans. We filled it up on celebrating D-Day. We had over 1,200. So we have a large crowd. And then we do helping heroes for the veterans that's lost limbs and that need special homes, and we go out there and build homes. We have this at the winery, and I just met with the Tunnels for Towers yesterday, Towers for Tunnel, and met with them. And I think there's going to be some more exciting things to come at RCR, and Richard Childress will be involved in.
That's very cool. Richard, on a personal note, I just wanted to say, as soon as we started doing this thing back in the early 90s, you have always been open, honest, friendly, and helped me out a tremendous amount when I was covering races. And I just always appreciate the warmness and the warmth and the friendliness that we felt out of Welcome, North Carolina over the years. We just really appreciate it, man. I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. And that's one thing I've never forgot. I made the comment, and I shouldn't, the other day, but I said, we're a blue-collar team. And that's really what we are. And we believe in everyday working men and women. And that's what we have here. We got people that want this thing so bad. And, John, I remember when you started, you was one of those guys that really wanted it and wanted it bad and worked hard for it. If you see people wanting to put everything they have into something they have a passion for, they're going to succeed, and that's what you did. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. Richard, also, thank you for your time. Hey, I hope we're talking about a victory at Iowa or very soon. We got to get you guys in the playoffs.
That's our plans. We don't have much left, but we're giving it all we got. You can believe that.
All right, Richard, thank you so much for the time, man. Always great to talk to you, and we'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Thanks, John. See you, buddy.